Academician of the China Academy of Science, Mr. Zhou Qi, with us. We also have researchers to give us some updates on scientific knowledge. Some words on the academic updates. New confirmed cases 2,641, new severe cases 849, new deaths 143, among which 139 are from Hubei, 2 from Henan, 1 from Beijing, and 1 from Chongqing. New suspected cases 2,277, new discharged 1,373, of medical observation 30,081. As of 24 o'clock, 14th of February, in all the Chinese provinces and the Xinjiang Production Corp, existing confirmed cases 56,873, severe cases 11,053, discharged cases 8,096, cumulative deaths 1,523, cumulative reported confirmed cases 66,492, existing suspected cases 8,969, in cumulative terms, close contacts 51,318, and observation, again in cumulative terms, 169,039. And the statistics for Hubei, new confirmed cases 2,420, 1,923 are from Hubei, newly discharged 912, 486 are from Wuhan, new deaths 139, 107 are from Wuhan. Existing confirmed cases in Hubei province 48,175, 34, 9,039. And the statistics for Hubei, new confirmed cases 2,420, 1,923 are from Hubei, newly discharged 912, 486 are from Wuhan, new deaths 139, 107 are from Wuhan. Existing confirmed cases in Hubei province 48,175, 34,289 are from Wuhan, among which severe cases 10,152, 8,335 are from Wuhan. In cumulative terms, discharged cases 4,774, 2,502 are from Wuhan. In cumulative terms, cumulative death 1,457, 1,123 are from Wuhan. Cumulative confirmed cases 54,406. 37,914 are from Wuhan. New suspected cases 1,216, 507 are from Wuhan. Existing suspected cases 5,534 and 2,265 are from Wuhan. For Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, in Hong Kong SAR, there are 56 cases, 10 cases in Macau SAR, and 18 in Taiwan region. On the 14th of February, apart from Hubei province, in other provinces, new confirmed cases 221. It has been a decline on the 11th consecutive days. And for suspected cases, there have been some fluctuation, but the overall trend has been on decline. Beijing, Anhui, Fujian, Guangdong, Henan provinces have seen 6 days of consecutive and running decline. New deaths 4. Severe cases decreased by 25. Existing severe cases have seen a decline for 5 running days. The severe cases proportion has decreased from 9.44 on the 7th of February to 7.45% for yesterday. In general, apart from Hubei, there has been some tapering off. Provinces should follow closely the latest development of the epidemic, organize experts panel to review the situation. As we do a better job on prevention control, we should minimize the epidemic impact on life and work. I'd like to put forward some reminder. Health authorities at all localities should ramp up their guidance to ensure health institutions to resume their orderly functioning. This is the epidemic update. Some notices on consultation between China and WHO. Experts from the WHO and other countries will arrive in Beijing on the weekend. Previously, China discussed with the advanced team of WHO headed by Dr. Bruce Aylward. There has been in-depth discussion between the two sides. There has been some bilateral agreement on the agenda and the key research areas of the joint mission. The joint mission will work with the departments under the Joint Prevention and Control Mechanism and conduct an in-depth discussion, and will carry out field visits in 3 provinces and cities to learn about the prevention control measures in city and rural areas and the efficacy. They will also visit the epidemiological institutions, the labs, and also hospitals, research institutions, and put forward their suggestions for China's efforts. Now we'd like to take questions for today. Again, please identify yourself before you address your question. The journalist on the first row on the left side, please. Thank you. I'm from Science Daily. After the outbreak of the epidemic, Ministry of Science and Technology and the scientists have been involved in the frontline work. What has been the progress? I'd like to ask Mr. Wu Yuanbing from Ministry of Science and Technology to take the question. Thank you. After the outbreak of the epidemic, Ministry of Science and Technology has followed the suggestions from President Xi Jinping in stepping up scientific research. We have been focusing on drug development, biosafety, infectious disease prevention. On the 20th of January, the State Council Prevention Control Mechanism has established a scientific research panel. Ministry of Science and Technology collaborated with 12 departments and ministries and established experts panel headed by academician Zhong Nanshan. We've organized and mobilized scientists across the country to be engaged in scientific researches in the following 4 aspects. First, we've clarified the major directions of research. Because of the urgent needs of prevention and control, we focus on treatment prevention. We have clarified clinical protocols, and we've been optimizing the clinical obstacles, the screening of drugs, the diagnostic, therapeutics, epidemiological studies, vaccine development, the building of the animal models. These 5 have been the priorities of our research. Second, we've rapidly deployed the result-oriented efforts and initiated thematic programs. Up till now, we've deployed 4 batches, 20 thematic programs. The Ministry of Science and Technology collaborated with CFDA and issued on-site fast diagnostic reagents. The opening of the bidding and the tendering, we've mobilized enterprises to be involved in the development of fast diagnostic reagents. After the issuance of the guidance within 1 week, we've received 327 applications, which has exemplified the great concern and support from the society and the private sector. We also collaborated with local provinces and localities to be engaged in scientific research. The China Academy of Science has started with the prevention control program in 20 provinces and cities. Scientific research projects have been established to address the emergency. Third, we've established a synergy promotion mechanism. Departments have been collaborating on the stem cell storage stock, the review and approval of testing technologies, the sharing of the strains, efforts have been promoted to accelerate the research to ensure we can realize some initial results.
Also, the team has established the coordination mechanism with the medical treatment team and accelerated the transformation of the research findings. Also, resources are consolidated and there have been joint R&D projects among the stakeholders. Also, the accountability system was established to ensure the coordination and sound management. Fourthly, standardized management and efficiency improvement in order to ensure the efficiency and the quality of the R&D. The ministry worked out relevant bulletin to coordinate the scientific studies and encourage the scientists and experts to publish their research findings in China and serve the people. Also, there have been specific guidance offered for the operation of the biosafety laboratories. The relevant authorities or authoritative agencies are asked to ensure the biosafety in the R&D. Compliance as well as scientific innovation are both encouraged. Also, the efforts have been made to ensure the health and the safety of the foreign scientists and experts working in China. So, there have been some initial progress in terms of the 5 major directions for R&D. For the pathological studies and the relevant scientific studies, there have been some milestone achievements. Bats have been identified as the most likely source of the virus. In the animal model, there has already been successful initiative, and also these animal models have provided sound basis for the clinical studies or the follow-up studies. Furthermore, it has been accelerated for the on-spot testing equipments and kits. Some of the studies concerning the therapeutics are being advanced, generating some initial results. Some of the research findings have already been adopted into the clinical protocol. Also, various technical roadmaps have already been identified and implemented. For the next step, we will continue to focus on the technical directions and accelerate the transfer of the research findings. Thank you. Let's continue the Q&A. On the third row, the journalist in black. I'm from CETV. I'd like to know that how about the therapeutics, the drugs? How many drugs or candidate drugs are being studied, and when can we expect the results? Mr. Zhang, to answer your question. Thank you. To find the effective clinical drug, reduce the fatality, and improve the treatment are the key objectives of the current R&D. It has been strengthened to have such R&D. We have engaged the scientists and IT experts to do the candidate screening. 5,000 potentially candidates have been selected or screened, and some initial screening have already been conducted. Then we will have about 100 candidates to conduct the in vivo studies. Furthermore, in vitro studies. Furthermore, there have been some drugs like the chloroquine phosphate, favipiravir, arbidol, and darunavir have been identified for further studies. The chloroquine phosphate has been an anti-malaria drug, and the experiment has found that it might be effective to treat the new novel coronavirus, and it is already available in the market. And recently, in the near future, in Hunan province, this drug is also going to have the phase 3 clinical trial. The favipiravir is having the phase 3 clinical trial in Shenzhen, enrolling about 70 patients. On the third and the fourth day, it has been found that it is quite effective in converting in having this negative conversion. Also, there's a drug which is quite remdesivir, which is quite famous now, and the phase 3 clinical trial is ongoing. Also, this drug has been successfully applied to one patient, and in Wuhan, and also altogether 11 hospitals are conducting the phase 3 clinical trial, and this clinical trial has enrolled more than 100 severe cases and a dozen of mild cases. So we are following very closely the clinical trials and will recommend the effective medicines for clinical practices. Okay, let's go on. Let's move on with our questions, and please, from the cover, I noticed that there have been some cases reported with cytokine storm. Could you please share with us more details of treatment of such patients? Okay. As for the treatment of the cases, there are various approaches. For mild, severe, and critically ill cases, there are different approaches. The issue you have mentioned, the cytokine storm, indeed is a major cause for death. The cytokine storm is an overreaction of the immune system, and when the immune system is not able to tell who's the enemy and who's the friend, the immune system will have such overreaction. How to suppress the cytokine storm? This has been a focus question. Recently, in order to address this issue, the CAS and MOST have started quite a number of projects. On the one hand, we wish to avoid the cytokine storm, and on the other hand, we wish to suppress such storm. Just as the gentleman from MOST has mentioned, the cell therapy is also identified as one of the potential solutions to cytokine storm. There are also available drugs which are being studied to suppress such cytokine storm.
And some drugs have already been proven effective for the inhibition of the cytokine inflammation. including some proven drugs which can work on the cell level. Clinical trials have already been conducted using such drugs. In the China Medical Research University Hospital, several severe patients have been using this drug. Multi-centered randomized control study have been carried out. Over 100 patients have been included, 94 in the treatment group and 94 in the control group. If the initial results have been encouraging, then we will facilitate the use. And for the severe patients, from a humanitarian and caring perspective, such drugs are also given and administered on these patients. I believe there will be more candidate drugs that can be included for the prevention against the cytokine storm. Thank you. Journalist on the right side from the third row, please. I'm from CNR with CCTV Group. I have a question related to vaccine. As we all know, vaccine is one of the most effective measures for the prevention against the infectious disease. Has China started the research on candidate vaccine development, and is China's research of the same step and pace with the international development? I'd like to ask Mr. Zhang Xinming from Ministry of Science and Technology to answer the question. Yes, indeed, vaccines are cost-effective for the prevention against the infectious disease. The State Council and Party Central Committee pay great attention to the development of the vaccine. From the very beginning of the setup of the scientific research panel, we've selected vaccine development as one of the key assignments. We've organized the relevant stakeholders to facilitate the development of vaccine. This virus is a new virus, so it may involve a longer cycle of the development of vaccine. So we have made some in parallel development pathways, including the inactivated mRNA vaccines, the reorganized proteins, and the virus carriers. So parallel work have been carried out to ensure faster success. We've also coordinated ministries and departments to ensure full support is given to the vaccine development team, so as to make the work more compact and more efficient. We have set up very specific schedules counted by days. Some of the vaccine candidates are already in the stage of animal tests. In the prevention against the infectious disease, China already has some funding support and a mechanism for responding to emerging infectious disease. Capacity development have been stepped up over the years. The research and development capacity of vaccine have been improved, and there are some well-known and well-positioned enterprises. We also advocate international cooperation on the development of vaccines. However, we should be keenly aware that vaccine is used on healthy people, so the priority is safety. The development of any vaccine must follow strict protocols. Scientists must be given enough time to ensure the vaccine is not only effective, but also, most importantly, safe. The research pace in China is consistent with that of the world. Thank you. Next question, please. Journalist on the first row, please. Thank you. I'm from China Daily. To fight off the epidemic, Ministry of Science and Technology has mobilized scientists across the country, and great progress has been made. What have been the measures adopted by Ministry of Science and Technology to promote the sharing of research results? I'd like to ask DG Wu Yuanbing from the Ministry of Science and Technology to take the question. The scientists community and it is fair to say the entire society have been engaged in the fight against the epidemic. Progress has been scored. The research results can be disseminated to the general public through the media, which can enable the public to have scientific knowledge of the epidemic. As we now have diversified media channels, scientific research results are highly professional and technical. The general public may come from different walks of life, so they may have different understandings of the same piece of information. There are also some disputes on the understanding of the same message. So in general, scientists should focus on the fight against the epidemic. A better job should be done to focus on the treatment of patients. Meanwhile, experiences and best practices should be reviewed and summarized into papers to be published. Therefore, in the process, we advocate peer reviews and peer sharing of their treatment practices. The Ministry of Science and Technology has been collaborating with the National Health Commission and the China Medical Association and has established a professional platform of academic exchanges. On China Medical Journal website, we have opened a thematic column on the prevention and control of novel coronavirus pneumonia to encourage the sharing of treatment practices and scientific research results. Scientists in their researches and physicians in their treatment may have found some good experiences. They have data, clinical cases, research papers, and also important work suggestions can all be fed onto this professional platform. It is also a window of dissemination. On the platform, discussion can also be ensured and entertained. The journalist on the left side from the second row, please. Thank you. I'm from Xinhua News Agency. I have a follow-up question on vaccine development. We know there are different pathways, as you have commented. I'd like to ask about the phasal progress, or is there any milestone? What is the forecast of vaccine development? We also have Madam Yan Jinghua, Senior Consultant Researcher from the Microbial Research Institute of CAS. I'd like to ask Madam Yan to take the question. Thank you. Journalists, you have asked the vaccine development strategies. As Director Zhang has mentioned, inactivated virus-based vaccine development and other parallel pathways. Different pathways have their unique advantages and disadvantages, and sometimes they may complement each other. Our institute is a member of the CAS family, and we focus on reorganized protein-based vaccine. We have selected the most effective antibody in the protein of the virus and re-express the protein. In relative terms, we don't need a special place where there is a high level of biosafety requirement or biosafety laboratory. Our development of the vaccine has been smooth. In the past few years, we've been focusing on the development of MERS vaccines. And in this process, good results have been scored. After the outbreak of the novel coronavirus, we have successfully transplanted the methods to the design of novel coronavirus vaccines. We've completed the designing, and we have also made some re-expression. And animal test is now ongoing. We will soon give it a safety evaluation. We are also working on the industrial process, the processing, validation. I'd also like to take the opportunity to make some points. It is an extraordinary process for this round of development. Ministry of Science and Technology, China Academy of Science, and also the Drug Review Center has given us great support for timely communication.
We are accelerating together the development of the candidate vaccine. Also, the frontline scientists and researchers are under a lot of pressure to have a successful result. Also, we have streamlined the development process. That means a lot of steps are being conducted in parallel in order to accelerate the availability of this vaccine. Last but not least, I'd like to touch upon the safety of the vaccine. As you know, this is a brand new virus, and we don't have any previous experience with the novel viral vaccine development, and we need to always keep a balance between the efficacy and the safety. So, vaccine safety is the top priority for us. We hope that with the support from the stakeholders, we can have this vaccine as early as possible. Thank you, Professor Yan. Let's continue our Q&A. The lady over there. I'm from Hengpai, and not long ago, it has already I'm from the paper. It is mentioned that the pangolin has been identified as the potential animal reservoir. So could you please share with us more information in this aspect? Mr. Wu can take your question. The source tracing of the virus is extremely necessary and important for the epidemic prevention and control. So, for the R&D initiatives, we have made every effort to identify the source tracing as a key project. For this source tracing project, there are many participants from various institutions like CAS and the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences. It is fair to say that in terms of source tracing and pathological studies, the team has conducted a lot of efforts. China CDC, in particular the Virology Research Institute, tested 585 samples from the Huanan wholesale market, as well as other farmers' market. And it has been found that this epidemic might be related with the trading of the wild animals. For example, one sub-team analyzed 4,800 samples over the past years, and the testing results were all negative, indicating that this virus does not come from the farmed animals. Also, with the analysis of the viral genetic sequence, bats have been identified as the most likely natural reservoir of the virus. As for the transmission routes, they are also extremely important in the source tracing studies. And at the moment, we still think that the droplets and the contact transmissions are the major transmission modes. As you know, academician Zhong Nanshan and academician Li Lanjuan have separately isolated virus strains from the feces of the patients, but still there are not enough evidence to show that this is a fecal mouse transmission. Scientists are working on the potential transmission modes. Just now you mentioned the studies from the South China Agricultural University claiming that pangolin might be the intermediate reservoir. We are working on this issue for the transmission of the novel coronavirus from pangolin to human beings. There's a study team, and we will inform you as soon as once we get the research findings. Okay, let's continue. The gentleman on the fourth row. Thank you, DG Mi. I'm from Red Star News. On February the 12th, in the Standing Committee's meeting of the Political Bureau, President Xi Jinping instructed that there should be more efforts for the therapeutic studies and the use of the drugs. So could you please share with us more details on that? Thank you for your question. The effective treatment of the severe cases is an important approach to reduce the fatality rate. Up to now, we can see some new products and techniques have begun to show effects. For example, for the plasma therapy, as there are a lot of protective antibodies in the plasma of the recovered patients, it has already been shown the effective. So in the treatment of the critically ill cases, the plasma therapy has been applied. The result has been satisfying, with no obvious side effects. The second is for stem cell therapy. Stem cell can suppress the overreaction of the immune system and trigger the organic recovery within the immune system, and can also ease the symptoms. So with the rigid preclinical studies, the stem cell therapy is now being used under very strict conditions to treat the critically ill patients. The efficacy and the safety have also been proved. So for the next step, we will continue such studies and wish to bring new hope to the critically ill cases. Okay, let's continue. On the right side, on the fifth row. Thank you, DG Mi, from Shenzhen Satellite TV. As we all know, in the drug and vaccine development, animal studies are necessary. So what about the requirements for animal studies, and what are the initiatives that have been taken? For animal studies, they are important step prior to the clinical trials. So according to the arrangements of many research institutions, like Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences and also the Wuhan Biological Laboratory, are well engaged.
But still, the mammals might be the most suitable candidate animals, such as monkeys. We have already found similar symptoms developed, including the changes of the virus loads and also the radiology examination, the CT results. So these results will be included into the drug candidate selection and also evaluation of the efficacy. Multiple institutions are stepping up their efforts with the expectation and hope that more suitable animal models can be proposed for the development of drugs and the evaluation of the efficacy. Last two questions, the journalists are on the left side. Thank you. I'm from CRI International. I've noticed that Dr. Tedros, the Director General of WHO, has commented that cross-border scientific research collaboration have been carried out. What has been the progress? I'd like to ask Mr. Wu Yuanbin, DG from the Ministry of Science and Technology, to take the question. Diseases know no border of countries. The epidemic hits not only China. The epidemic is a common challenge for the entire mankind. Since the outbreak of the epidemic, the world has given great attention to the issue. Many countries have been working along with China to conduct research on key aspects. The scientific and research panel has been collaborating with multiple stakeholders from various countries, and we've carried out international collaborations. For the Chinese research team, starting from January, we've isolated the virus strain, and the live virus genome sequence have been identified. We've double-checked. And on the 12th of January, we shared the whole genome sequence with the WHO. And this is also published on global data sharing platforms, providing the international community of scientists with valuable information for the research and development of candidate drugs and the screening of the drugs and the selection of vaccine development pathways. That's why Dr. Tedros has some high praise for China's efficiency in the isolation of virus and the sharing of whole genome sequencing. This is great support to international research. China's scientific research experts panel have also organized activities to enhance Chinese scientists' communication and communication across the world. On the 26th of January, we've invited academicians from China and Germany to be engaged in a video conferencing. That was on the 6th of February. And on the 7th, we organized another video conference. It was a face-to-face communication between China and Russian scientists. During the process, we have had very frank, open, transparent exchanges. We've shared China's experiences in treatment, in particular the treatment of severe patients. We've also conducted communication on the development of vaccines and the selection of drugs. The international community has lent us great support in the prevention control efforts. Gilead of United States has provided us with some drugs for clinical research. World Infectious Disease Prevention and Control Alliance and international businesses have come to discuss with us on the possible collaboration on diagnostics and treatment drugs and vaccines. We'd like to take the opportunity to convey our gratitude to international collaboration. In the principle of openness, we are willing to be engaged in collaboration with the international scientific community to fight off the disease. Last question for the day. I'd like to ask the journalist on the second row from the right side to take the question. Thank you. I'm from CRI with CCTV. What are the bottlenecks of research and development of drugs? What are the thorniest issues in the scientific research process? I'd like to ask Mr. Zhou Qi, academician of CAS, to answer the question. Drug development is the most effective way for mankind to face diseases. A novel drug may come into the world from a scenario to the final product in 10 years. Why does a drug development take so long? We need to learn the target of the treatment. We need to know what is the target of the treatment. Second, once the target is identified, we need to learn about all the candidate compounds. Not all compounds can be made into drugs. We need to go through the tests of the compounds. There are different dosages, sprays, oral formations, and also injections. We need to understand the possibility of producing a compound into a drug. We should also consider the efficacy and side effects, the safety. We need to spend a long time to conduct the animal tests to ensure the safety before we can come into the clinical phase. Any step is a master step and is a difficult step. Therefore, in our response to the novel coronavirus pneumonia, all of us expect the coming into shape of a new drug. But it is a natural rule that it takes time and there are strict procedures to follow. Officials from the Ministry of Science and Technology has commented just now that all the fast tracks have been opened. Administrative streamlines have been provided. However, science is science. We never lower the criteria of science. We must follow all the rigorous steps. So if you ask me what is the thorniest issue in this process, I think when we are looking at the existing drugs, when we have conducted the in vivo cell level evaluation and moved towards the animal tests, and when we look at the potential drug candidates, what we expect most is a scientific judgment and the compassion and tireless work to ensure the facilitation of the safety evaluation, efficacy evaluation before they can finally arrive at the hands of doctors and patients. This is the common expectation of physicians and scientists across the world. So all these are thorniest parts that we must prevail over. Thank you for your question. With that, we've concluded all the questions for today. Now I'd like to ask Senior Consultant Researcher from CDC to give us some scientific knowledge. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, the businesses are incrementally resuming their business. So people are very much concerned about the self-protection at workplaces. I've received most frequently asked questions, which I'd like to provide some answers. First, some are asking, because of the different features of work, there might be the direct contact with the dust or poisonous raw materials. So such staff are wearing the anti-dust or anti-poison masks. Can these masks fend off the virus? Well, it depends. First, if at a workplace there is only dust, smoke, and other microparticles, staff can wear the masks that can fend off particles. You can also wear semi-particle particle prevention face masks for the whole face or half face. There should be a spacious space to fend off the particles. And if you wear masks like this, such masks can also fend off some virus. If we look at the closeness or the compactness of such face masks, the functions are even better than virus masks.
If the workplace has some toxic gases or steam, then we should wear those toxic-free masks. So this is a partial or full face mask. And also, it is necessary to have a filter tank with the mask. This tank is able to protect you from the toxic gases or steam, but it is not able to have the virus-free results. So if you are in a workplace with both the dust and the toxics, then we have the replaceable partial or full mask, facial mask, and also with inadequate space to have these filters, appropriate filters. So this is about the facial masks. The second question is about the returning to work, and this may lead to higher risk of clusters. So for enterprises, how to protect your employees? For this question, first, you need to strengthen the workplace management. You've got to know the origins of these employees and their travel histories. The second point is that to have a temperature check among the employees, and also there should be a reporting procedure, usually a telephone to report any suspicious symptoms, and it is necessary to keep the smooth communication with this telephone line. Furthermore, you can have health education to improve your employees' awareness for self-protection. Also, it's necessary to have the entry and exit registration system, take body temperatures of the visitors, and keep a record of the entries and exits. Also, it's necessary to strengthen the protection in the workplaces. The environmental sanitation and fresh air or ventilation must be ensured. Also, there should be regular sanitization measures. That means the disinfection of the surfaces, of the furniture, the office furnitures, and also for the sanitary conditions, as well as the public places in the enterprises like the restaurants or dining halls. Also for the utensils used in the dining halls, there should also be disinfection measures. In factories and companies, there are also cleaning and spraying devices. So for these devices and equipments, we should ensure the safe and clean operation, and also to strengthen health awareness of the employees. Also, there should be sound management of the wastes. There should be appropriate disinfection measures for the wastes. Furthermore, try to reduce the gatherings among the employees. For companies with a large number of employees, you can arrange different time slots for dining, and also you can strengthen the health knowledge awareness promotion. For suspicious symptoms or employees with such suspicious symptoms, you need to have a plan prepared to quarantine them and report such symptoms. Also, you need to find a place to quarantine or to isolate this employee. Send him to the relevant clinics or hospitals for further diagnosis and treatment. So you have to follow the relevant requirements to protect the health of your employees. Thank you. Tomorrow we are going to have the press conference, and we welcome your presence and also your questions. That's all for today's press conference. Thank you very much.